So it's that time of the year when you might be thinking of possibly getting your chicken, your goat, your cow, or even your turkey ready for the festive season. And the dilemma you could be having is whether to choose red or white meat. And which one is better even? Is anyone healthier? You then possibly go online, read a million articles about meat, and you just might get very confused about what is really the deal about the red and the white meat. You're not alone. The most popular narrative you will find out there is that red meat has some important nutrients, but it isn't the best food for your health. And almost every piece of information that you will find, be it on a journal or a study, will urge you to replace red meat with white meat for the very reason that the red meat is higher in saturated fat when compared to the white meat. But is cutting out red meat a good idea? And is white meat really healthier? Hi there, my name is Nduta Wambura, and if you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe for you to be able to get all the nutrition videos that I will keep posting on this channel. Now let's unpack. Let's examine the differences between red and white meat and answer the very question that you might be having as to which one is really healthier. And if you're maybe thinking, you know what, I eat high amounts of fat, but I eat white meat instead of red meat, so which means I'm okay. The answer is actually no. Now, for one reason is that, first of all, by observation, you can tell which is the red and which is a white meat. However, meat is redefined as red or white by the amount of myoglobin in it. And myoglobin is a protein in meat which has a deep red color. And in fact, the red liquid you see in a pack of meat bought from an authentic grocery or a butchery is really not blood, but a combination of myoglobin and water. So simply put, the more the myoglobin in meat, the darker red it is. And muscles used more frequently are usually darker, and this is why chicken and turkey legs are slightly darker than breast meat, because legs are used more and more myoglobin is present, thereby creating a darker appearance. Okay? Examples of red meat in this case would be beef, lamb, pork, and steak will possibly be the most red meat of all. And now, the healthiest of red meats would certainly be in their most unprocessed form. And heavily processed meats will in most cases be preserved with things like nitrates to maintain their shelf life. So it's very crucial for you to avoid such cutouts of meat by reading your labels from your local butchery or your grocery store. So is red meat any good? Yes, red meat is a source of protein, vitamin B3, B6, B12, iron, selenium, and zinc. However, the meat available today is not what it used to be years ago. And this is very evident from the traditional populations like the Maasai, for instance, who have continuously eaten so much more meat than an average Westerner, but they remain in excellent health. So red meat is very nutritious actually, especially if it comes from animals that have been naturally fed and raised. However, today some of the meat products that you will find out there in the market are highly processed after the animals have, been slaughtered. They have gone through smoking, curation, and then they're treated with nitrates, preservatives, and various other chemicals which pose a risk. So how about the association of red meat with heart disease, things like diabetes and death? Now, the effects of red meat have been extensively studied, and it's important to note that most of these studies are actually observational studies, meaning that they are purely designed to detect associations but cannot quite prove causation. So several observational studies show that red meat is actually indeed associated with a higher risk of cardiovascular diseases, cancer, and even death. It is also worth noting that unprocessed red meats have not been associated with any of these risks. So this was backed up by the EPIC observational study that actually involved about 448,000 people, and several randomized controlled trials after that indicated that the intake of unprocessed red meat does not have negative health effects. It may even have some benefits. So when meat is cooked, however, at high temperature, it can form very harmful compounds. So to prevent the formation of these harmful substances, when cooking meat, any meat in this case, choose gentler cooking methods such as stewing, steaming, boiling, instead of going for the grilling and the frying, to avoid burning your meat and forming these compounds. Now, white meat refers to poultry and light colored meats, right? So sometimes this definition may actually be used to include fish, but people don't generally consider fish as meat. So it is also a myth that, of course, that white meat doesn't contain myoglobin. In fact, poultry does contain this protein, but in a much lesser quantity than red meat does. So some examples of white meat would include chicken, duck, turkey, and other types of poultry depending on your culture. So within poultry, there are two types of meats, white and dark. The different colors are based on the different locations and uses of the muscles of either the chicken or turkey. So white meat can be found within the breast of a chicken or turkey, or even the duck, while the dark muscles are fit to develop endurance or long-term use and contain more myoglobin than the white muscles. Of course, this is very visible on the chicken legs or the turkey legs that you might find out there. So white meat contains large amounts of protein. And are there any other benefits of white meat? Of course, dark meat contains 2.64 times more saturated fat than white meat per 1 gram of protein. So beef and lamb tend to have a higher amount of saturated fat and lower in polyunsaturated fat. On the other hand, chicken and turkey are very low in saturated fat and higher in polyunsaturated fat. However, all meats have a roughly 10:1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 except for lamb, likely because, of course, the lamb, most lambs are raised on pasture with grass-based diet, okay? So opting for grass-fed beef or pasteurized poultry would lower this ratio significantly, and the bottom line is that research shows that red meat is the superior of the two in terms of the nutritional value, with the main advantage being the fact that red meat has a higher B12 content. So red meat only falls short when you consider the amount of saturated fat in it. All in all, both red and white meat offer a variety of health benefits, and if you are actually trying to avoid to consume more fat, in this case saturated fat, you might as well get rid of all the meat instead and go plant-based. If you cannot find the organic cuts of the meat, go plant-based in that case, okay? So which means that consuming either white or red meat could end up having almost similar benefits depending on even how you actually cook the meat. So I hope that you have learned something from this video, and of course, until next time, remember that you are what you eat, even during this festive season. So please do it right. Bye.